Yes, guys. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Kwame Gonza. The channel is called Africa Reimagined. They say that if you want to understand who has power over you, then look at the person they don't allow you to criticize. Okay? If you want to understand who has power over you, look at the person who you are not allowed to criticize. That is the person who has power over you. I've been trying to broadcast this video and YouTube has been blocking it. Reason being, it is because this video talks about imperialism. And whenever you talk about the words imperialism and neocolonialism on YouTube, because these networks are owned by the Western world, those videos are normally blocked. They stop you from broadcasting those materials because you are trying to criticize the Western world and its methods, you know, how it is operating around the world. And this is the same people who normally talk about freedom of speech. So you ask yourself a question. If these people are talking about freedom of speech, how come it is the same people who are shutting us down and blocking us from saying what is on our minds? So it is either the people who are talking about freedom of speech don't know what they are talking about, or they are absolute hypocrites. Okay? They have a hidden agenda of using the word freedom and liberty, you know, and all these things. There is a hidden agenda, just like what they said in the Bible, that be careful of wolves that will come, you know, putting on sheep's skin. So you may think that a sheep has come, but inside is a wolf. So this is how I see the whole thing. But let me go straight to the subject of today. Today, I want to look at the gestures. You can see that on the thumbnail on this video, there is a picture of the President of the United States when he went to visit Saudi Arabia. The United States has been engaged in a lot of things around the world, you know, trying to control the world here and there, you know, intervene in everything that is going on around the world. You have seen Venezuela, you have seen Iran, you have seen the disturbances in Middle East, you know, Afghanistan recently, where they have been chased, you know, and they climbed their planes and ran out of the place. You can see South China, see how they are disturbing there. I spoke about Cuba and Venezuela, you know. In Africa itself, in Somalia, Nigeria, opening up military bases in Ghana, Zambia. They are involved in disturbing Ethiopia, involved in the Horn of Africa, just everywhere, just about everywhere where you can think of. And so they have been involved everywhere. So they are in Europe, on Russia's border. So these guys, they attained a lot of power after World War II, 1945, as we normally speak about these things. But I'll just speak about it again for those who want to know the whole genesis when the United States, you know, became very powerful and it was, you know, proclaimed as a superpower the year 1945. So since that period, they have just been going around the world, you know, overthrowing governments, anyone who speaks about them or against them, or anyone who speaks about them in a way they don't like, they will come against that person, kill the person, you know. If you speak against them, they will find a way of weakening you. They will take away either your job, or they will, if you refuse, they will come and kill you with some means of, you know, drugs or what, or kill you outright with shooting, like what we see happen to Dr. Martin Luther King. We see what happened, you know, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We see what happened to Malcolm X. So all these people were just removed from the scene because they were criticizing the United States and in turn is a criticism, of course, the whole white, ruling regime of the world. I mean, by that I mean the Western world criticism, because if you criticize the United States as an extension of the Western world, that means you have criticized the whole Western world. And so these people, they went ahead to be killed. People like Honorable Marcus Garvey, when he was in the United States working to uplift the people, the African people in the United States, he was blackmailed, and in this blackmail, they said he was, duping people. He was stealing money from people and stuff like that. Listing fake stocks and stuff like that and taking people's money. So he was blackmailed and removed from the United States. People like Kwame Nkrumah, he was removed from power because of publishing. It's the same thing. It brings us in Kwame Nkrumah's publishing a book called Neocolonialism, The Last Stage of Imperialism in 1965, comes back to the same thing which we spoke about the freedom of press, freedom of speech. Kwame Nkrumah published that book and they immediately burnt it, and then they protested. The United States protested and they said Nkrumah has to go. So that book also played a very big role in the overthrow of Nkrumah. Lumumba, Patrice Lumumba of the Congo, he was killed, because of speaking out and expressing himself. So the killing of our people, especially the black people, has been tremendous. And all these have been because of freedom, because of the fight for freedom. And the same people who have been talking about freedom around the world and claiming that they are giving people freedom and democracy, they are the same people who have killed all these our people who are Africans in orientation, who are Africans in nature. All of them have been killed fighting for freedom by the same people who claim that they are fighting for freedom. You see, so that is where the analogy, the biblical analogy of a wolf, coming when it is wearing a sheep's skin. You see, so on one side they speak about freedom and democracy. On the other side, they kill the people who are fighting for freedom and democracy. And historically, when you go and examine the history of the United States actually has never been on the side of freedom and democracy. When you look at its support of dictators around the world, Mobutu Sese Seko, its support of apartheid in South Africa, its support of apartheid in Palestine, where the Palestinian people are being killed, its support of brutality and killing like what is happening in Yemen. So the United States has been going on doing all these things around the world. So, but we want to examine today one more thing, that through all this adventure, this brutal adventure and democratic adventure that the United States has been going through and has been doing and going around, experimenting with around the world, it went to Saudi Arabia. It has been doing a lot of things. So it went to Saudi Arabia recently. And in this trip to Saudi Arabia, Biden wanted to make sure that the government in Saudi Arabia increases the oil in the market. It pumps the oil in the market to reduce the prices of oil. As you know, that the recent events around the world have influenced the prices of various products around the world. Those prices, even when you're talking about food in different countries around the world, those prices have been influenced by an increase in the prices of oil, the prices of gas and oil. And these prices of gas and oil have also been increased by the problem of Ukraine and Russia. You see that problem that is going on there. Russia and Ukraine, that war that is going on there has influenced the production of oil and gas, because Russia is a major producer of oil and gas, is one of the biggest producers of oil and gas on the international market. So whenever a major producer of oil on the international stage is disturbed, then we see an increase in the price of oil, because now the demand will start outstripping the supply. Okay, now there is cases in which these issues of demand and supply are brought about by natural causes, like we can say earthquakes, flooding, and all that, things of that nature, that these things may affect the producer. Maybe their production facilities, oil rigs, refineries may be destroyed because of that, and that may cause an increase in the prices of the oil. Okay, but if it is not these natural causes, then on the other side we see that they may be caused about by artificial causes. Now, what are those artificial causes? Like when we look at the situation today that is happening, what has caused Russia not to produce oil like how it is supposed to, and pump that oil onto the international stage, is the Ukraine war. And who is the major cause of this Ukraine war? The cause of the Ukraine war is the United States and the Western world. You see, they are the cause of this war that has happened. If you go back into history, those people who have read the history, who have tried to understand the cause of this war, who have watched videos on the internet, on YouTube here, videos of people like a professor and an analyst of international affairs who is called John Mashima. You can look for him. He's the one who analyzed this situation first, and actually he predicted what will happen to Ukraine if the West continues to push. He predicted this way back in 2014. And so that video has become very popular today. So they caused that war. But I've also tried to analyze that situation in Ukraine on my channel here. You can look for that video and go through it. I've tried to analyze that situation and brought it out for you. And I've tried to look at the causes of this. What is the purpose of this war? Actually, that is what I've analyzed. What is the cause and purpose of this war in Ukraine? So that war was brought about by a number of issues, by a number of conditions. Okay, and those conditions have, like I said, elaborated them. Now, it has been caused, this shortage of oil has been caused about by the war which has been also caused by the United States. Now, the same United States goes to Saudi Arabia to say that Saudi Arabia should help them. First, they went to Venezuela, okay? And Venezuela, they have been demonizing Venezuela for a very long time, very, very long time, and saying the government in Venezuela is not democratic, is this and this. President Maduro is a dictator. They even tried to overthrow the president in Venezuela. They tried to assassinate him, to kill him with a drone. They tried to plant some small puppet called Juan Guaido, So after all this, when they have landed into these problems, they have chased them from Afghanistan. Now they come to Venezuela and they say Venezuela should pump oil. Okay, they should allow maybe the United States companies to come and pump oil. Actually, they had even put sanctions on Venezuela to stop Venezuela from selling oil onto the international market. And Venezuela's economy had been affected greatly affected by these sanctions. So these sanctions affected the economy in Venezuela, you see. So when they affected the economy in Venezuela, Venezuela started going through a lot of trouble. Now, the same people turn around and they come and they say Venezuela should pump oil just because they have problems on the other side, and they want to use that to punish Russia. So what do they want to? How do they want to punish Russia? So they block Russia's oil from coming on the international market. So when they blocked Russia's oil from coming on the international market, then the prices of oil went up. And they are also blocking Europe from using the gas that comes from Russia. And Europe is very close to Russia. The prices of gas and oil went up. Food prices have gone up. And all these problems are not only affecting actually Russia, they are affecting now the whole of Europe. They are affecting even the United States itself. So you see that these people are engaging in a very tragic mistake. Tragic mistake. Tragic mistake. You see? So they made mistakes and they are adding more and more and more mistakes. So they come to Venezuela. Venezuela refused their advances. Okay? Venezuela refused their advances. So to my understanding, it's like Venezuela told them that they have to remove the sanctions, and they refused to remove the sanctions. Venezuela said that we will not negotiate anything. So, and I applaud actually Venezuela for standing with Russia and standing for what is right. Standing for what is right, really. And so when they failed there, they came to North Africa. They are trying to coerce countries like Algeria, Morocco, to pump oil and gas. And because for a very long time, they have been minimizing Africa, they don't allow infrastructure to be built in Africa, like oil infrastructure to be built, oil and gas infrastructure to be built in Africa. They look at Africa as their garden, a place of exploitation. So there has not been infrastructure like refineries, and gas plants built in Africa, gas processing plants to built in Africa to be able to process these resources, in large quantities, because they have been looking at Africa's resources as their own. These Western countries have been looking at Africa's resources as their own. So no one is supposed to go there and develop them. Okay? No one is supposed to go there and develop those resources unless it is them, the Western world, who are developing those resources for their benefit. So they think that Africa's resources belong to them. Now they went to Venezuela. Venezuela refused. So they came to North Africa. There's no infrastructure in Africa enough to help to pump more oil onto the international market. Now, where did they go? Now they went to Saudi Arabia. Biden went to Saudi Arabia. So he's going to Saudi Arabia. He's going to Saudi Arabia to see that Saudi Arabia increases the pumping of the oil. Now, here's the dilemma. Here's the dilemma. Saudi Arabia, when they meet with the crown prince, who is the probable, MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, who is the probable next king of Saudi Arabia, because his father has grown very old right now. The king has grown very old, and it is likely that Mohammed bin Salman is the next king. So the current king is too old to govern. So the prince is the one who's governing. The United States has been criticizing, in the past, has been criticizing Saudi Arabia very, very much. And they actually have a relationship which was established by Theodore Roosevelt. And that relationship, which was established in the 1940s by Theodore Roosevelt and the Saudi Arabian king during that time, when they came to develop the energy resources of Saudi Arabia, was that the United States would give security to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia would produce energy and sell that energy into dollars, so that the dollar can become a superpower currency. And that is where the term, the petrodollar, came from. Okay, that is when that relationship was established. But of late, that relationship has become very strained. Why has it become strained? One, Saudi Arabia itself has become very rich. Okay, that is one of the reasons. Saudi Arabia has become very rich. And the United States has also become very arrogant. That is number two. The United States has become very, very arrogant, extremely arrogant, that it goes around the world, bullying here, whatever it wants. You saw what happened with Donald Trump. They just bully everyone. They just say whatever they want, kick this one, kick that one there. So they do whatever they want. So if they want something from you, they will come and talk to you, this and this and this, sweet talk you. If they don't want something from you, they will abuse you and push you and kick you around and slap you and beat you in anyhow. You see? So, one, Saudi Arabia has become very rich. Number two, the United States has grown weaker. You see? Number three, there has been other superpowers which have come, on the international stage, like China, countries like China. China right now is the biggest, importer of Saudi Arabian oil. Is their biggest consumer right now. Saudi Arabia's biggest consumer is China right now. It is not the United States. So this has brought about a situation whereby Saudi Arabia is also trying to reset its relationships around the world. So Saudi Arabia now doesn't look at the United States in the same way it looked at the United States in the 1940s or 1950s or 1960s, because Saudi Arabia now sees new players on the international stage. There is new players on the international stage, okay? And we have spoken about China, and of course we have spoken about the BRICS countries. We know India is growing, but we also know that Russia is also, coming back as a superpower militarily. And even Russia is coming back to the extent that there is a time when the fighters in Yemen, Saudi Arabia is fighting a war in Yemen. The fighters in Yemen, the people who are fighting in Yemen with Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia is in Yemen fighting and bombing, they flew a drone into Saudi Arabia's oil fields, and the defense system which was supplied by the United States was not able to stop those attacks, because these defense systems are supposed to be triggered and kill off any military attacks or weapons or missiles that may be able coming to you. So those defense systems were not able to be triggered. So when those defense systems were not triggered for this system to protect Saudi Arabia's oil installations, they were hit, and even to a certain level those attacks on Saudi Arabia's oil assets caused an increase in oil prices on the international stage. So Russia came in, actually suggested to Saudi Arabia that they can supply to them effective defense systems. So this was a suggestion that the defense systems which were supplied by the United States are not functional. They are not working. So this is what Russia was suggesting, that the defense mechanisms of the United States, they don't work. So Russia is talking about the S-300, S-400, and even right now, I think they are about to launch the S-500. They have some of the most effective air defense systems. That is Russia. So Saudi Arabia sees that the world has changed, and so it needs to reset also its relationship with the United States. So the United States has become very weak. Okay, there is players on the international stage, new players on the international stage, and Saudi Arabia has become very rich. So Biden went to Saudi Arabia recently, and he thought that when he goes to Saudi Arabia, he's going to meet the old Saudi Arabia. Okay, because these guys, they think that they are going to dominate the world forever. So he comes, he thinks that he's just going to reach there and tell them that they should increase the oil, pump more oil onto the international market, because we are trying to provoke Russia on the other side. You pump oil, increase oil on the international market so that the prices can go down. Because remember, they provoked Russia, okay, and they banned Russia's oil resources from the international stage because they thought that they can go and ask Saudi Arabia to pump more oil, or go and blackmail Venezuela that pump more oil on the international stage. And all these countries have refused, okay? They realized this actually at first glance when they went to Venezuela, and Venezuela refused. Because when they blocked, started blocking Saudi Arabia, Russia's oil, the oil prices went up. Venezuela refused. Prices went up, continued to go up. Biden even opened the oil reserves of the United States and started pumping them out to try to stabilize the prices. The prices kept going up. Now he has gone to Saudi Arabia so that Saudi Arabia can pump. Saudi Arabia made certain statements. Okay, the prince in Saudi Arabia made very, very strong statements. Very strong statements, I can tell you. And I'll try to display some of those statements. And one of those statements which the prince in Saudi Arabia made was that let me just get up this. One of those statements which the prince in Saudi Arabia made was that let me share this. Okay, just give me a second, my people. Give me a second. Okay, so the prince of Saudi Arabia said that unrealistic energy policies lead to inflation. Okay, so that is the prince, the crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman, or the famously known MBS. They call him MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, the prince of Saudi Arabia. He told Biden, as you can see, this one here is the prince. This is the prince, and this is Joe Biden here. So this is the prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. This is Joe Biden here. So this is when he is in Saudi Arabia. As you can see, the guys who are putting on turbans here, all these are, Saudi Arabian officials, government officials. So he's in Saudi Arabia. Now, Mohammed bin Salman made statements, and he made a couple of other statements actually. And even the minister of foreign affairs of Saudi Arabia also made a couple of other statements. One of the statements which the crown prince made is this one, that unrealistic energy policies lead to inflation. Now, for those who know about diplomacy, he was trying to say something in this statement, but this is diplomacy. Okay, so unrealistic energy policies lead to inflation. So this appeared in in the news on France 24. This is where I picked up this statement, but it is all over the internet and the other news. So when he says unrealistic energy policies lead to inflation, he's trying to say to the United States that what you guys are doing, and you think that you are going to go around the world and command everyone to do your bidding or do what you want, is unrealistic. It is not going to work. So if you think that you are going to go and provoke Russia and ban the oil resources of Russia from the international market, then those are unrealistic policies which you guys are engaging in. And it will not work. It's going to affect all of you. It's going to affect all of the world. And it's going to affect all the sectors of the world. All the sectors, because you disturb the energy resources of the world, you are disturbing the food of the world. Okay? Because oil is where fertilizers come from. Oil is what transports the food. So the food resources are going to go up. You recently heard the United States had problems with baby formula. They thought that these things will not affect them. It's like how you saw the tariffs which Trump, the taxes and tariffs which Trump put on Chinese goods. I say he's going to increase tariffs. In turn, it affected the United States. It affected the United States that the United States reached a certain level that they don't have goods in supermarkets and marts. They did not have goods. Why? Because the United States is not manufacturing anymore. And even if it manufactured, it is not manufacturing to the level that China is manufacturing. You see? So it affects everyone. So Donald Trump thought that if he increases the tariffs on the goods of China, on the Chinese goods that are entering the United States, he thought that it will not affect the United States. And he was badly mistaken. So he was hugely mistaken that this thing, instead it affected, this thing affected the United States worse than it affected China, actually. So this is what the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is telling Biden, that unrealistic energy policies lead to inflation. And isn't this the inflation that we are seeing that is happening all over Europe? Isn't this the inflation that we are seeing that is happening in the United States and all over the Western world? Isn't this the inflation that we are seeing that is happening all over the world? Isn't this the inflation that we are seeing that is overthrowing governments like what we saw in Sri Lanka? This is the same inflation. And what does Africa need to do right now? Africa needs to be strong and develop its own resources. Africa needs to be serious about using the state to develop our resources and build the infrastructure to develop our resources, like oil refineries. Things like this, refineries for oil and gold, because we know gold is the undisputed stabilizer of currencies. Why do you think the pound, the British pound is stable, is not facing so much inflation compared to to other currencies that are pegged to the dollar? Because they have gold. And mind you, Britain doesn't have gold, and Africa has a lot of gold, but we don't have gold, reserves. We have gold mines, but we don't have gold reserves. Britain doesn't have gold mines, but it has gold reserves, because for centuries, Britain was stealing other people's resources and storing them. So that's the gold they are using right now. But where Africa has an advantage is that we still have these mines, like the mine which has been just discovered recently in Uganda, 12 trillion. These are all advantages for us. If we are not stupid, if we don't become stupid, if the leadership in like places like Uganda does not become reckless, like the leadership in South Africa, or the leadership in Tanzania, or the leadership in Ghana, whereby they just allow our gold to be taken away and they are just sitting and watching and making their eyes and recklessly. This is what I call irresponsibility and recklessness. So the Prince Mohammed bin Salman says that these policies which you guys are employing are reckless policies. And you are behaving like spoiled children. You are like a spoiled child. You cannot go around the world provoking this one, provoking that one, playing against, playing countries against each other. It has to stop. And this is the weakness. This is the weakness which imperialism is facing, because imperialism for a very long time has thrived on divide and conquer. You see, imperialism has thrived on divide and conquer. Okay, my brother, thank you very much. J. Taipat, thank you very much. I want to welcome you. So I was on the topic. I was saying that imperialism has always thrived on divide and conquer. So if you think that you have something to say on this topic, please come in, brother. And I want to put a link in the chat. You can join me and we will be able to discuss this topic together. You can come on the screen, no problem. I don't have any problem. So let me give you the link, my brother. You can join in, even if you want to listen while you are in. You can throw in a thought, one thought here and there. You can throw in a thought. No problem. I don't have a problem. So you can click that link, the StreamYard link. It will allow you in. Yeah, so we can take this discussion from there. So I was trying to say that the United States is behaving like a spoiled child. And this is what the people around the world are pointing out. And imperialism thrives on, sorry, my sister, yeah, sorry, because you put the name J Tapert, so there's no way I could know. Sorry. So you can join me if you want to. You can join me in if you want to. Just click the StreamYard link which I've posted in there, and you can be in the room while we are making this analysis, while we are having this chat. So imperialism always thrives on divide and conquer, divide and rule. Okay, these are the same things. Divide and rule. Divide and rule. This divide and rule is what enables imperialism to thrive. Okay, it enables imperialism to thrive, to go on and on. But when it gets exposed, and it gets exposed, and people get to understand what is going on behind the door, people get to understand what imperialism is doing, then it cannot survive anymore. It can't survive anymore. You see? So this is what is happening today. Now, how have people come to understand this manipulation? How have people come to understand this method of divide and rule, divide and conquer? Manipulation, manipulate and rule. Okay, manipulate people and rule. Play people against each other and steal from them. How have people come to understand this? The advance in technology. You see that this advance, every time there is an explosion in technology, information, the flow of information reaches a lot of people. Then those people who held on to that information for a very long time, lose control to the too much power they had. Because whenever one person has a lot of information, that person becomes very powerful. Okay, the one who has too much information is the person who is powerful, who is very powerful. So when that information is democratized, then the people who used to have all this information to them become less powerful. And that is what is happening today, that these divide and conquer methods that have been used by imperialism for a very long time, people have come to the understanding of them because of the increase in the flow of information around the world, all across the world, the internet. Actually, these people, some of the things, they invented some of the things to their detriment. You can go as far back as the 17, in the 18th century. In 1791, for example, there was the advent of the telegram and printing. Okay, in the 18th century, remember the first industrial revolution happened in Britain. So the news used to come, you see, from France, and that news used to come to places like Saint Domingo, the present day Haiti. And this guy called Toussaint and Dessalines, they were educated on their masters' farms as slaves. They used to get this information. I want you to see the power of information. So when they used to get this information, Toussaint used to pay very big attention to what was happening in Britain. So he used to get this information, and I mean to what was happening both in Britain and in France, all Europe. But he used to pay very close attention to what was happening in France. So when he got this information, he actually used that information to mobilize his people to fight against slavery. That is true Salovacha for you. And now let us come to 1945. In 1945, radio, things like radio was discovered, you know, telephone, radio, and all those things. So the radio became a very powerful means. Printing became commonplace. So information started, the telegram, information started flowing rapidly. And then a couple of Africans were educated. A lot of Africans, you know, went to Europe and were educated. Others went to America. People like Nkrumah, they went to the United States to study. So Nkrumah, when he was educated in the United States and saw the condition of the African people in the United States, segregation, Jim Crow, segregation, you know, how people were disturbed over there, how people were mistreated. Then Nkrumah came to Britain. He met a couple of other Africans there, George Padman, all those people. So that was all information. And then they met there with people like Jomo Kenyatta and all the other Africans. And they came back to Africa. And now these so-called missionaries, they had already started putting up these missionary schools, and other Africans who were educated, people like Lumumba were educated in, you know, Patrice Lumumba were educated in those missionary schools. So this is the power of information. That is what I'm saying, that the more information is democratized, is the more people get to understand, and is the more secrets are revealed. So even those people who have been using the divide and rule methods will be exposed. So this is what is happening today, that this internet which you are seeing, because internet has become now the new printing machine, because you don't need to go to the factory now to print material on paper. You just take out your phone and start typing. The phone and the computer is the new printing machine. Is the new printing machine. So information is out there like water. Okay, it's like ocean water. I will not say water because fresh water is scarce, like what we have in the Great Lakes region, Lake Victoria and all that. You know, that is another, you know, topic for another day. But it's like ocean water, the salty water in the ocean, plenty water. So that is what information has come to. So this is what we see that the imperialists now are facing. They are facing the information that has come out there to the people, that people now understand how the world is working. People understand now what is going on in the world. So people are not ignorant anymore. So the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia says that unrealistic energy policies lead to inflation. And this is what we are seeing happening around the world. Now, what is the other thing that they said in Saudi Arabia? In Saudi Arabia, the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Saudi Arabia, this is what he said also. He said that Saudi Arabia, this is after Biden's trip, okay? This is after and during, this is during and after Biden's trip in Saudi Arabia. The Minister of Foreign Affairs in Saudi Arabia said that Saudi Arabia values all relationships, okay, of the US and China, including Russia. He said that Saudi Arabia values all relationships. It doesn't want to alienate anyone. It values all relationships. Now, this is diplomacy. Like I said, you have to understand what diplomacy is. When people are talking diplomatically, but what is it really they are saying? Because in diplomacy, they say something to smoothen the hard language, or something that would have caused you know, people to react, you know, in a certain way. They don't want to be aggressive. Let me say like that. Someone doesn't want to talk with aggressive language. Okay? He doesn't want to talk with aggressive language. For those of you who have partners, know that when you're talking to your partner, whether he's a lady, you know, or a gentleman, you want to use a certain language, especially if you are still in courtship. Okay, you want to use a certain language that they will not run away. Okay, even if you are trying to criticize them, you want to criticize them gently. So the minister of Foreign Affairs of Saudi Arabia says that Saudi Arabia values all relationships, including the relationship of the United States and China and Russia, all of those relationships. And remember, I'll give you the reasons. I'll give you the reason why he's saying this. Remember, Russia is a member of OPEC. So Saudi Arabia feels like it has an obligation to stand by Russia in one way or the other, because Russia is a member of OPEC, oil producing and exporting, countries. That is OPEC. They are the ones, is a group of countries who are together as a club of oil producing countries around the world. So Russia is a member of OPEC. So Saudi Arabia, to a certain level, feels that it has an obligation to protect Russia as a member of OPEC. That is number one. That is number one. Number two, why Saudi Arabia said this. China right now is the biggest customer of Saudi Arabia. It is the one which is importing Saudi Arabia's oil the most. Is the biggest importer of Saudi Arabian oil right now. That is why a few months ago, China was invited to Saudi Arabia to discuss its importation of Saudi Arabian oil. And this thing, it caused a lot of uproar in the Western world. Why? Because many people have been predicting that the United States dollar is going down. Many people have been predicting that the United States is declining. You can check this out. There's myself, I also believe it, according to my analysis. I did my analysis from a Pan-African perspective. You can check out my videos. But there's a lot of other people who have done analysis, people like Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio is a very rich man, but he invests his money looking at history. And he has the biggest hedge fund in the world. Ray Dalio has the biggest hedge fund, which is worth more than $160 billion. He himself is worth around $20 billion. So when you combine Ray Dalio's analysis, he even published a book on it, which is called Principles for Dealing with Principles for Understanding How to Deal with the Changing World Order, How Nations Rise and Fall. Ray Dalio did this analysis, and he has pointed out that the United States as a nation is going down, is declining. The signs are glaring. It is declining. But me personally, also from my analysis, from a Pan-African perspective, I also had done my own analysis. So everyone is seeing it. It is evident that imperialism and neocolonialism has been weakened. And so even in the future, I will do a video on an analysis which says why imperialism has weakened, or has absolutely weakened. So I'll do a video. So it is evident from analysts, those people who analyze history and want to understand what is going on in the world and they are trying to anticipate what is happening in the future. They look into history and then they will tell you that imperialism has weakened. And imperialism cannot weaken if the United States has not weakened. The United States as the flag bearer of Western imperialism. The United States right now is the flag bearer of Western imperialism. That imperialism cannot weaken unless the United States has weakened. So the people in Saudi Arabia, the government in Saudi Arabia is seeing this. They invited China to discuss their importation of Saudi Arabian oil. And this news went around the world as Saudi Arabia wanting to sell its oil into the Chinese renminbi or the Chinese yuan. When I'm talking about the renminbi and the yuan, I'm talking about the Chinese currency, the Chinese money, the Chinese form of money. So Saudi Arabia was looked at as wanting to sell its oil into the Chinese renminbi or the Chinese currency. So that is a statement. The statement which was made by the Saudi Arabian Minister of Foreign Affairs is very, very important. Is very important, where he said that they want a relationship and they value all relationships with all nations. And then he made another statement and he said that the world cannot afford to have a war with China. Okay? He said that it will be catastrophic to have a war with China or to wage a war with China. So he's talking about the United States, of course, and Europe. They are the ones who have been provoking China. When you hear things like the South China Sea, the United States is saying how it is carrying out freedom of navigation in the South China Sea and banding up with Japan, and then trying to pull also India into that camp so that they can provoke China and all that. The Saudi Arabian government is saying that the world cannot afford to have a war with China, and a war with China would be catastrophic for the world economy. These are the words of the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Saudi Arabia. So you have to pay close attention to these things. What does this mean? He is trying to tell the United States and the Western world, I mean Britain, Germany, and all those European countries, including Canada and Australia, who have been provoking wars everywhere around the world. So he's trying to tell them that you people should stop provoking a war, should stop provoking a war with China. But he's saying, like I said before, he is trying to state that you people are provoking a very dangerous thing and you should stop. That is what he's telling them. But he is telling them diplomatically. This is diplomatic language for those who don't understand it. There is another thing that happened. Another thing that happened is that the Crown Prince also said, the Crown Prince, I'm talking about Mohammed bin Salman, he also said to the United States that they pushed the issue of Khashoggi too far. For those of you who don't know Khashoggi, Khashoggi was a Saudi Arabian gentleman, citizen, who immigrated to the United States. But he migrated there after he had criticized, he was a journalist, after he had criticized the Saudi Arabian government a lot. So the Saudi Arabian government found a way of taking care of him. Okay? At least that is what they say. They say that the Saudi Arabian government found a way of taking care of him. By that I mean sending him to the grave, or killing him rather. That is what they say. Okay? That is what they say. I'm saying that is what they say. I'm not saying that they did it, but I'm saying that is what they say. So the United States has been criticizing them, and even during the campaigns for the United States, which happened between those campaigns which happened between Biden and Donald Trump, because Biden wanted to show himself that he's going to be a very capable president, he went as far as criticizing Saudi Arabia when that issue was brought up. You know, they normally hold these presidential debates. So he went as far as saying that Saudi Arabia is a pariah state. So for you to say that is a pariah state is an abuse to Saudi Arabia. So he said that he's going to make sure that Saudi Arabia is accountable to the actions of killing Khashoggi. So pariah state. So then he became a president. Now those words are coming back today to bite him. So when he went to Saudi Arabia to beg for oil, they brought out these things, and the Crown Prince has said in Saudi Arabia that Biden and the United States, they pushed the Khashoggi issue too far. So this is what begging, okay? This is what actually not only begging is not bad, okay? Begging is not bad, and actually asking is also a form of begging. But when you combine begging with arrogancy, what the United States has engaged in, it becomes dangerous. The United States has become extremely arrogant. It became very arrogant in the past, to the extent that even they call themselves that they are the exceptional people. They are the exceptional, exceptional nation. You see, it's an exceptional people, exceptional nation. Manifested destiny. The manifested destiny. So whatever they say to everyone, everyone is supposed to obey. Everyone is supposed to go along. You see, they call themselves, that kind of, that is how they call it themselves. So, and this calling themselves, remember, they were not counting the Africans or people of African descent as humans, because they called, even the United States Constitution called the people of African descent, all people who are black, niggers, all they called them 3/5 of a human being. That we were not humans. We were 3/5 of a human being. You see, 3/5 of a human being, that means we were only around 60% of humans. We were not full humans. We were only 60% of humans. That is what 3/5 of a human being means. We were only 60% of humans. We were not full humans. We were not 100% humans. So that is when the United States was calling itself an exceptional nation. You see, manifested destiny. You see, American dream. So they are everything. So they became very arrogant, and they think that they can boss around everyone, like what they have been going around preaching, human rights. At the same time, the same people who are preaching human rights, they are killing numerous. In Iraq alone, 1 million people died because of the United States. In Libya here, more than 500,000 people have died in Libya since the war, which removed the President Muammar Gaddafi. In Somalia, they went and destroyed the whole nation. In Afghanistan, everywhere, Vietnam, Korea, they have killed numerous. If you go to Latin America, what they have done there, El Salvador, Panama, they have killed. The United States itself, as a country, they killed off millions of people. In the Congo, 20 million people were killed by Europeans. In Namibia, 10 million people were killed by Europeans. But the same people, it is surprising how they turn around and come and tell us that they are preaching human rights. So this is what the Saudi Arabian, prince is saying, that they pushed this so far. They pushed this so far. Even actually, when we are talking about the human rights issue, recently, about a few days ago, President Kagame was interviewed on France 24. And actually, President Kagame called them out point blank. President Kagame called the arrogance of the West. He called it out point blank and said, the hypocrisy, we will not allow it. You cannot be talking about human rights and you are doing the opposite. You cannot be talking about freedom of speech when you are doing the opposite. You cannot be talking about democracy when you are doing the opposite. You are toppling governments which are democratic. Where you cannot be talking about freedom of speech when you are imprisoning journalists, and you are talking about freedom of journalism. You are imprisoning, journalists. You cannot talk about freedom of speech when you are, hunting and persecuting, the founder, Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks. You cannot talk about human rights when you are persecuting people going around the world and killing people recklessly, innocently. So this is what, President Kagame pointed out also. You see, you cannot talk about these things recklessly. You have to be realistic, in your talks. You have to back up action. With your speech, what you are saying, you have to back it up. You have to back up your words with action. So this is what is happening in Saudi Arabia. That the princess, the crown prince in Saudi Arabia called out. The crown prince called out. He called out the United States and called out Biden. And these words came back to bite Biden, because Biden in the past was provoking Saudi Arabia. And he didn't think that these words would come back to bite him. And they are coming back to bite him. You see? They are coming back to bite him. The media. You see? Check their media. Criticizing here, criticizing there. So there is confusion. There's confusion actually within even the United States itself and within the imperialistic camp. They have a lot of demonstrations. Like if you go to France, they have the yellow jackets who have been on the streets since 2020. They are demanding and demonstrating. Economic decline is there. There's confusion in the Western world. When you go and examine it, when you watch the news, Fox News now point blank criticizes Biden, that he's sleeping, he's about to fall down, he's not mentally stable. They are criticizing him, even on Sky News. So within the imperialistic camp, it reminds me of the political scientist Eric Lee, who said that neoliberalism is breaking up within inside. It is breaking up because it is going through a struggle within itself, that it is fighting against itself. You see, it is breaking up from inside. And that is what is happening. That is what is really happening. So they are fighting within themselves, that the media, the imperialist media now, some of it is criticizing itself. Media houses like Fox are trying to buy cheap, credit to stay afloat, because that media house has been facing a lot of problems, because the whole media brigade has been facing declining numbers. They have been in the 30s, 30% viewership rate. People have lost trust. It's only 30% who trust the media in the Western world. They don't trust it. So now some of them have been trying to divide themselves so that they can stay on the side of the people. And that is what I see media houses like Fox News. So on one side, they criticize Biden. So there is chaos, you see. On the other side, they are conflicted. They don't know what to do. And all these are because the empire is declining. The empire is falling down. Nothing is working. Things are not working within. So however much they invest in the military, it will not work. It will not work, however much they invest in the military. So it will not help It doesn't help to invest in the United States military over $1 trillion. Every year, 1 trillion. Every year you invest 1 trillion. While the bridges are falling down, the roads are spoiled. You see, nothing is working. So this is what is happening on that side of the United States. So my name is Kwame Gonza. I'll be glad to come back with more analysis on different subjects. This channel, we talk Pan-Africanism, and we talk what benefits Africa. So this analysis like this, it helps us to understand which position does Africa occupy, and how should Africa take advantage of such times as these. So I think that as Pan-Africanists, it is our time now to take advantage of the fall of imperialism, of the decline of the imperialism, of the weakness of this imperialism. And as Pan-Africanists, it's time to intensify our organizing efforts. And one of those efforts which we are doing as Pan-Africanists right now is that we have put up petitions, and those petitions, I'll put them in the description and the comment section, and I'll highlight that comment as well as pin it at the top, so that when you come, you just click on and you go and sign those petitions. There are 3 petitions, and those 3 petitions, I would like to tell you that they have been backed and endorsed by some of the most important Pan-Africanists of our time. PLO Lumumba Foundation, he has signed the petitions and he has endorsed them. Dr. Susan has endorsed the petitions and has signed. Dr. Susan, Pan-African Daily TV. Sister Shanice of the Sister Shanice Show, she has also endorsed these petitions and she has signed. Dr. Edmond Folfak, he has also signed. Dr. Edmond Folfak is a renowned world oncologist at Ohio State University Medical Center. He has signed the petitions and he has endorsed, and we are working on Honorable Joshua Maponga also to endorse these petitions. He has agreed to endorse the petitions. So go out there, sign the petitions. Like I said, we have to do this thing ourselves. What are the petitions about? The petitions are about for us to petition the African Union, the African heads of state. What are we petitioning them about? We are petitioning them about the union government, that we want to see it now, because they have been signing on numerous papers and protocols and declarations, and they have not been fulfilling them. So we understand that we as African people must come together to make these things a reality, and we have to push these people who have been signing on things they don't understand. So the union government of African states, we want it now. We want a single passport for all Africans and a single currency for the African continent. That's petition number 2. We want the stoppage of all wars, and we want the establishment of an African high command, an African military, single African military, to stop all the wars on the continent. There are 3 petitions. I want you to sign those petitions and make a statement as an African. And also just copy it from the comment section and paste it anywhere else, where you can, to all your friends and family and friends, and let them sign the petition. Encourage them to do the same thing in the same spirit that I'm asking you to sign as an African and person of African descent. Do the same thing. Push these petitions as far as they can reach, until they reach our big celebrities like Stonebwoy, Sarkodie, Wizkid, Burna Boy, Davido. These are Africans, and these are our African celebrities, and all celebrities of African descent. Michael Blackson in the United States, all these celebrities who are African and African descent, Didi, 50 Cent, all those ones you see that invested in Africa, Jay-Z, all of them who are invested in African issues and the affairs of people of African descent. Send these petitions and let them sign them, and let us make a statement that Africa must unify, that Africans must have a single passport. All of them, including people of African descent, they must have a single passport to signify that they are Africans and belong to Africa. And let us have a single currency on the African continent, and let us have a single military on the African continent. Let us have an African state. I want to thank you. My name is Kwame Gonza. The channel is called Africa Imagine. Invite your family and friends and let them subscribe to the channel, and let us work together in making Africa better. Thank you very much. My name is Kwame Gonza. I'll see you next time.